Hello, peoples! I said hello instead of hi, which I normally do because I'm switching things up. My hair's even up for important reasons like that. I'm switching more things up. Our word of the day, we're having a word of the day. It is...
Foudroyant. Foudroyant. Foudroyant.
If you see these mannequins, it's not because I do like anything weird. It's because my mom does costumes for a theater.
Foudroyant.
I thought that was necessary. It means overwhelming and in sudden effect.
Foudroyant. 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 Foudroyant.
Okay, I think we've had enough of that. It might come up later in this episode. Oh my goodness, we need to get started. I did not write any notes down, so if I get off, please leave a comment below the video. 3 days! 3 days! 3 days, 7 hours, 22 minutes, and 40 seconds. Oh my god.
So what we left off was Katniss just found water and she slathered herself in mud and refilled her canteen with iodine. She is on the dark side, which are the careers.
She wakes up and there's this huge firewall, right? Oh yeah, so she runs and the firewall is there not because some weird thing happened. It's because the game makers are making it there so Katniss just can't sleep in a tree her whole life. She keeps running and she keeps running. And then eventually she's away from the fire, and then she just crashes. And she has this really bad burn mark. It's all down her leg, she's like, oh, it hurts. Then she gets a silver package. Do you want to know what the silver package is, right? Well, of course you do. It's from a sponsor, and it is medicine. It's medicine. It heals her burn on her leg, because it's red and gashy and she's like, oh, she puts on, it's oh, so good, because in the future they have really nice stuff, and really nice stuff equals healing faster, and they probably have a cure for cancer. Then she meets up with the tributes, the career tributes, who are the scary buff guys around. Those guys, and they drive her up a tree, and she's like, you can't get me, because she's really high up, so they can't go up there. So they have their weapons, and there's this one girl named Glimmer who has the arrows who Katniss wanted, but she couldn't get. They're like, oh, well, she can't stay up there forever. That's what Peeta says. And so they're like, let's just wait till she comes down. So then she's sleeping in the tree psh, okay, well, I can't stay here forever. And then in the nighttime, she sees these animal eyes looking at her. And then she slowly turns around, and it's Rue. Does anybody remember Rue? Did I explain Rue? She's 12, and it's always really sad when a 12-year-old gets picked, because basically they're about to die. And then Rue, she points at Katniss, and she points up, and guess what's there? A Tracker Jacker nest. Tracker Jacker!
Yeah, so oh my god, because they have these stinger things that are this big, and if you get stung by one, it goes into your skin and stuff. No duh. And so then it either makes you die or you have these weird hallucinations.
Katniss is like, oh my god, I had to get out of this tree. And she's like, I had to get away from these tributes. Later that night, she comes up with a plan. While the anthem plays, she is going to saw off the Tracker Jacker limb so it lands on the tributes, which is really dangerous though, because she could totally get stung. The Tracker Jackers are
Foudroyant. 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 Foudroyant.
Anyway, so then she saws during the anthem, so they won't hear her. All the career tribute people are in this little group, and so the Tracker Jackers come from all angles, stinging them and stuff. Glimmer, the girl with the bows, gets stung 5 times to where she dies, and all of them get stung, even Peeta. Katniss drops out of the tree, and she's really woozy now because the hallucination stuff, and she pulls out the thingies, but they still really hurt, and then she gets really dizzy and has all these weird dreams and stuff. But then she kind of wakes up, and there's Peeta, and he's like, run. And so she runs, and then before she kind of blacks out back into her nightmares, she sees Cato coming after her with the spear. She's like, oh. And then she runs far enough, and then she crashes. She wakes up, and she's all tired and stuff, and so she kind of makes camp on the ground. And then she sees a boot, and she's like, they're not the only ones who can make allies, and it's Rue, who saved her from the Tracker Jackers. Tracker Jackers! So she comes out, and Katniss is like, man, these Tracker Jacker bites, stings, really hurt and stuff. And Rue's like, I know a remedy for that. So she takes these leaves, these special leaf things, and she chews them up, and then she spits them on Katniss's bump thingies, and then she puts them on there, and Katniss is like, ah, because it takes out the sting. But she's really cute, and she kind of looks like Katniss, where she's dark-skinned and the dark hair. But Rue kind of reminds Katniss of Prim, her sister. And so she lets her have some of her rabbit from earlier, and Rue's like, oh, thank you. And she's like, the tributes are never the career tributes are never hungry. Because remember the cornucopia, the stuff full of stuff? So Katniss is like, what if they didn't have that? So Katniss comes up with this plan to like burn all their food so they won't have it, so they'll just eventually like die off. The next morning, who knows this 4-part harmony melody thingy for Mockingjay? They'll like be distracted and they'll run off into the forest where the fire is, where Rue's gonna start a fire to distract them. Well, Katniss is gonna like make the food catch on fire. And so then Katniss goes and she sees that there's something weird. She's in a tree right now. No duh. Well, then she sees Foxface. Foxface is another tribute who's not an actual fox. She just has a fox face and she's really sly and snickery. She sees how Foxface does this odd little dance through this, like, it's like this big triangle mound thingy mabobber. And she's like, okay, what's with this? So she sees that there must be, and you know where they were to where if they stepped off they would be like blown to bits and stuff, in my genius lead weight idea to like blow them up. What happens is Katniss comes up with this grand, fantastic idea to take 3 arrows to shoot the apples to where they fall, and therefore it activates the mind things. So she does that and it blows up. All their food is now gone. And like her ear is like, she can't hear anything out of her left ear. This is my left ear. She goes to see if Rue's okay, and she can't find Rue. And then she hears this horrible scream thing. And then she runs towards the scream, and then she sees Rue with the spear through her stomach. And Katniss is like bawling, because Rue was her best little friend. And Rue was so good and so kind and
And so then, Katniss, the guy who stuck a spear through her stomach, she takes her and she's like, and she instantly kills him. She's like dead, because she just was ticked off. Female hormones and arrows. So then she just killed.
So then Rue's there, and she takes the spear out, and Rue's like, no, you can't save me, it won't work. And then Candace is like, oh, Rue! And she's like crying because she loved her, and Rue is my favorite character. You should read the books to find out why, because I can't explain all that. She goes, and Rue's like, sing Katniss. And Katniss is like, she can't just say no, it's the girl's dying request. So then she sings this pretty little song. It's like, over the meadow, into the grassy fields, oh, dun, 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 dun. They have something on Mockingjay.net, but it sounds awful. And so then she sings, and what she does to prove the capital to kind of rebel is she takes all these flowers from the forest before the hovercraft comes.
Whenever a body dies, it like, and the body goes up into the hovercraft, so there won't just be dead bodies everywhere.
So then before the hovercraft comes, while Rue's still slightly alive, she takes all these flowers and put flowers like all around her head and all around her body, and just puts flowers everywhere. So she looks gorgeous. And it's like a sign to the capital that she sort of like does care, and it's just like not as horrible. And so it shows the capital that there is love. 'Cause without love. Oh, that's kind of it for now. Bye!
Without love, life is like a